Welcome to News with a View, hosted by me, John A. Costa. Today is December 27th, 2025, and this will be episode 174. Today, we're going to do a little bit different in the show. Normally, I have a full script in front of me. Today, I'm going to be doing it from my computer. So we'll see how that works out. I don't think it's going to be much of a difference. Uh, this is a conservative-leaning podcast. I host this anywhere between 3 times and 6 times a week, depending on how I'm feeling. This week, I have not felt very good. And so I think my last show was the 21st. Today's the 27th. Just didn't feel it. Wasn't a lot in the news. Some of it was, but really not going to go anywhere until after the first of the year. I have my coffee and my mug given to me by Brother Donald for a Christmas present with my show logo on it. Thank you, Don. Today it's just going to be some revelations on Democratic failures for 2025. And trying to keep the show under 30 minutes today. That's about all I'll be able to muster up. Trying to get better. Not easy, folks. It is not easy. All right, my first thing today. LA Mayor Karen Bass says it's sad to see Latinos joining the Border Patrol. Can you imagine the arrogance that piece of shit mayor, who has caused really probably $1 trillion worth of loss in her area, in her city, due to her lack of funding for the fire department. And then she has the nerve to question Latinos joining Border Patrol or ICE or taking any government job. Now, I know that her being a minority, probably she doesn't like the idea of any minority working, that asking a lot of them to do. But the craziness of her making a comment like that and being proud of that comment is mind-boggling. The Democrats, there is no way. I see articles that Democrats are going to sweep it in 2026. Where? How? How? You pump out these lies to your own people that you're going to win, you're going to do this, you're going to promote, mostly in a national level. I mean, states that are blue are going to stay relatively blue. Maybe New York, not so much. As far as state politics, city politics, yeah, blue is blue, red is red. You don't get too many changes with that. But Mayor Bass is an idiot. She's right up there with Walz. They say the stupidest things. The stupidest, childish things. There's just no way you guys are going to win. You're not taking the houses back. If anything, we're going to take more seats. The Republicans are going to take more seats. And you'll be, oh, it's the end of the world. We're all going to, you're going to, Trump, Orange Man, baby. Yeah. Well, we're going to hear all that stuff. And it's like, it's going to be meaningless because the people that voted for Trump in 2024 are going to support the people that Trump is going to be pushing for. And those numbers will carry. And maybe even more. But the mayor of LA, unbelievable. Unbelievable. The nonsense. The nonsense. Then we go to Minnesota. Now, let me just go back to LA. Do you people, anyone listening out there, do you really feel that the mayor is correct in saying that, she's sad? Should you be sad? I mean, is this how people feel? I don't understand it. I don't get it. Am I missing something? It's a terrible, terrible thing that Bass is doing. She's being a racist. And she's not being called out for being a racist. She is a racist. Now I'm done with her. Minnesota mayor warns fraud and overspending could spike property taxes. You think? You think? Tim Walz says that because he was such a loving and generous state, people took advantage of him, of his state, and comes out and makes statements like that. And the state is still funding some of these criminal elements. Now, I understand not all the programs have fraud, and not everyone running these programs are fraudulent. But you look at what's going on there, and you have to question, are they doing enough to put a halt to it and get it under control? I say they're not. I say they're not doing that, and they're allowing the fraud to continue because they know they can't stop it. That it's just so entwined into their makeup that they can't. And when the feds go in there and start untangling it and exposing it, it's going to be, you're doing this because they're Somalian or they're Muslims. You wait and see. You wait and see. You think that the government should crack down on states? I think the federal government, if you're receiving money from the federal government, you have to explain how it's being used in detail. in detail. Who's getting it, who's in charge of it, who's administrating it, and who's reconciling it. Because when I worked for a credit union, National Credit Union Administration, I had to do all that. They would come in, for me, once a year. Every once in a while, they'd come in twice a year, just an unannounced, hey, how's it going? I want to look at this. Boom. Here you go. Sit in that office over there. Any questions? Come out and ask me. And I had to account and explain. Because the government, the federal government, a branch of the federal government, NCUA, National Credit Union Administration, was our equivalent to FDIC. The difference was we were self-funded. We paid as we went along. Very grassroots, and in essence, very socialist. That, it was self-governed and by the people, but very well run. But we had to answer. And when you couldn't answer, then, they brought in more people and dug deeper to make sure that there was, mistakes happen. Things get overlooked. It does happen. But outright fraud, what was going on in Minnesota was just blatant. And at the end of the day, the government officials should be held responsible for that. You want to take the glory? Well, you're going to have to take some of the crap that goes the other way. And I think Tim Walz should resign. As the same thing with the lieutenant governor, which I will get into later. Got a couple of little digs with her. Minnesota again. Well, what do you think? You think that we should shrug our shoulders and just go, well, it happened. What can you do? Water under the bridge. Or should we be saying, hey, if that's happening in Minnesota, is that happening in South Carolina? Is it happening in Texas? In Georgia? In New York? In Ohio? In Wisconsin? In California? In Oregon? And it might not be. Some of those states might be extremely responsible and do look at it and go, yeah, we know there's always going to be fraud, and we know that there's always going to be people trying to game the system. And when we find it, we react to it, and we learn from it, and we go, okay, this is how they did it. Now, this is what we're going to look for. And I'm sure there are some blue states out there that are administrating the programs exactly the way they needed to be administrated. But you don't know what you don't know. You got to get in there and look. I would say wherever there's money from the government, there's going to be fraud. Blue state, red state, doesn't matter. There's going to be fraud. Because it's just easy pickings. All right, Minnesota Democrat Lieutenant Governor Flanagan wears a traditional Muslim clothing to make an address to her representatives. And they must be all Somalian then. Because she was speaking in their traditional garb. So I don't know. I want to say, is that appropriation? What happened? What would happen? What would people say if I went to Texas? I'm lieutenant governor in Texas, and I wear a sombrero and poncho and a mustache, and start speaking like I'm of a Mexican descent, and I'm not. Did you have a problem with that? How about if I was lieutenant governor in Alabama and I'm white and I decided to go in blackface? I mean, is that not the same thing? That she just wasn't going to wear her everyday clothes. She was going to dress up in a Somali, you know, traditional clothing. I just don't see that being genuine. I see that more as being pandering. Now, of course, when you go into a synagogue, as a matter of respect, you'll wear a yarmulke. And if you were invited into a mosque, you would take your shoes off at the door and go with the men and the women with the women out of respect to that religion. But their clothing is not part of their religion. It's a traditional garb that they wear, but there's lots of Muslim women that wear pantsuits. And she's a Catholic and a Native American. I see it as pandering. And then she told him, don't be afraid. We know that, there's a lot going on in the Somalian community about we're looking for fraud, but, it's a time to be afraid, but, well, you only have to be afraid, honestly, is if you did something wrong. I don't think you should be accused without proof. But to say that, this is this is my way of presenting myself and speaking Somalian. How about speaking English? I mean, you think that was the right thing for her to do? These Democrats are so stupid. It's not ignorance. I can understand ignorance is not knowing. If I went to another country, I can't speak their language. I'm ignorant in that. I could be taught it. Ignorance is not stupidity. Ignorance is just not knowing. These people are stupid because they know. They know that it's pandering. Walsh should resign. And she's running for the state senate, Flanagan. So she could make her state even more fraud friendly. All right. Now, President Trump calls for the release of any Epstein files naming Democrats. And he said, embarrass them. Well, I'm for releasing any of the Epstein files whose people's or names are on it, now that that is what you're going to do. I don't think, I certainly wouldn't do that. Because the people that are listed as having any type of association with Epstein, unless they're named as in a civil or criminal suit, you don't need to know that. There is no need. What is the relevancy in doing that? If these people are named in a civil suit, then, you want to hand that out. I guess you could. If I was the attorney for these victims, I would want my victims' names redacted from it. But if I'm the government and I don't know that who these Jane Does are, and I just start redacting all the female names, and there's people in there that aren't on it, and they go, no, that was a person that was, how do I know this? You got to give me the names of the people that need to be redacted off this, and I'll redact it. And if you say, I don't want those files released to the general public, but I want them as the attorney representing these victims, then you go to court, you go, these are the people, this is why I want to, this is why I don't want that released to the public until we have deposed these people and taken this to trial. At the conclusion of the trial, sure, release it all. And we can then say at the trial, we want all the names redacted. But you had all these people go, release all the files. Okay, boom. And they're finding millions of files on Epstein. So there were millions of files during the Biden administration, and there were people asking for them to be released then, and they refused. Now, I can understand refusing to release those files when there's a criminal investigation going on. You can't. I feel for you, but there's a criminal investigation, and we can't release that information. But in December of 2021, Maxwell was found guilty. You could have released it. Now, she automatically appealed the case, but in 5 years, Coming 2026 in 5 years, well, December of 2026 will be 5 years. But in the 4 years, nothing's been done about the appeal. So you could release everything. And could have been released in 2022, 2023, 2024. Could have been released. Why didn't the Democrats cry and scream about this travesty and demand that they be released? You understand how, both sides of the coin. You understand that Trump saying, let's release all the information on the Democrats. Anyone with the Democrats' name in there, release them. Now, is that right? Just the Democrats? No, I don't feel that that's right. But if you're going to do that, then release it. Go to the attorneys. That any attorney representing someone here, they got to go to the court and go through those pages, find out if their victims' names are on there, and then we'll redact it. If you do not, or you do not tell us whose the names are, we're going to release it, we're just releasing it. I don't think the Trump administration did a very good job in handling this situation. Personally, I do not think they did a good job with it. Because no matter how it was done, it was going to be messy and ugly and controversial and a lot of legalities in here. Lots of things that now will become a past precedent. I think that the lawyers should have all spoken up and said, hey, I can understand a lawyer wanting to have this released, but no, not a good idea, because it will come back to bite other people. And the only reason they're looking is to collect money. This case is not about a criminal case. Now, so you understand, a civil case can turn into a criminal case if evidence that is brought forward is timely. The time limit hasn't run out on it. But in cases where there are underage persons involved, I know there's a lot of leeway. But even those things have certain time limits on it. And do you think any interested party in here is trying to get the clock to run out? I would say so. Because if I was on that list and they said, hey, it's got to be 12 years from the time of the complaint to this time, and if nothing's been done, and blah, 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 it kind of falls off the edge of the world, and I'm going to push as hard as I can to hit that 12-year mark. Just saying, that's the way the legal system works. So, more great news, huh? But I think the Trump administration has not handled the Epstein files the way I would have thought that they would handle it. And they kind of have turned it around to the Democrats, but not enough in your face. So we'll see what happens. Okay, New York City Mayor-elect Mamdani picks his mentor, the woke, radical, anti-Israeli YouTuber Miss Rachel. to be part of his inaugural celebration and part of that administration. What do you think of that? And I kind of want to say like a plus and a minus. You have Donald Trump that puts on his administration uber people that support his agenda. And you have now Mamdani, who is picking people that is for his agenda. But is his agenda really should be anti-Israel? Or should it be, I'm all for New York, and I want people that support New York and make New York a great place to work, a great place to do business in, and a great place to live? No, he's not doing that. And I will say with the Trump administration, they're picking people that want to see America prosper, wealthy, the rich to get richer, people to have jobs, less government interference into the lives of the people on a federal level. So I see Mamdani as a Jimmy Carter. For his agenda, he means well, but he's a child. Jimmy Carter ran a business, he ran a farm, he was in the military, he was a very brilliant person, and his words were his conviction. He meant what he said. And what he had said was really good, positive things. Mamdani has not been positive. Mamdani, he's a racist. He's a bigot. He's an anti-Semite. And I just can't believe he won. I knew the people that were running against him, there was just no way. Curtis Sliwa, I like Curtis Sliwa, he might have been on the other side of the spectrum. And Governor Cuomo should never even have been involved with that, former Governor Cuomo. I mean, what were they thinking? And the Democrats now have, and they supported a socialist communist. And I think that's going to be hard for them to shake come 2026 and even 2028. I think it's going to be very hard for them to shake that. What do you think? You think Mamdani is going to do a good job? Or do you think that Mamdani is going to fail and then scream it's because people did not like Muslims? Not that people didn't like bad government. What do you think? I say they'll put the Muslim card down. This is the easiest place to go. Now, Mamdani has already says he's going to block the NYPD support of ICE and will fulfill his promise of that as mayor. So New York City will not be able to assist ICE in the sense of offering ICE protection as they go into neighborhoods or respond to calls for assistance. So when that happens, the president can send in federal troops under his control to protect federal government employees and federal government property. Now, if these cities would have done their job in fulfilling our immigration policies, none of this would have been here. These are cities that invited illegals in. Governor Hochul, it's given $4.5 billion of New York's money to illegals. While schools have to have, you're paying the highest school taxes in the country. And sorry, there's no books. Sorry, the buildings are cold. Sorry, there's no paper. You have to have your child supply their own paper, buy their books. How do you think that works? How do you think that's going to work during the 2026? You think you're going to be able to dodge that? And if you're in red state and that's going on and that's controlled by Republicans, they should be called out on that. Works both ways. Works both ways. And more Democrats in the news. Whereas there hasn't been enough of that, huh? Representative out of Florida, Sheila Trefelis McCormick. She is the representative in Congress from Florida who is accused of taking COVID money. I'm sorry, not COVID money. FEMA money. And using it for personal expenses. She was shown that in photos that she is handing out showing her meeting with people, and they photoshopped out a ring that the government has said she bought with government money. And they have pictures of her from other people where you could see the ring, and then in these same pictures released to the press, the ring was removed. Now, they're going into that type of detail. They got her. And she's another one that's screaming, are you doing this because of my race? No, they're doing it because you're a crook who happens to be black. People have a problem with that? People have a problem with calling out our government officials for money illegally used? I don't. I have no problem with that being done. But you better be right. You better be right. And if you're not right, then why'd you go down that road? Then I will question, what made you go down that road? Instead of, well, we looked, we didn't find anything, but we went down that road anyway. Yeah, then I go, that's a hatchet job, and no bueno. Price to pay for that, too. All right. Late night with Jimmy Kimmel. He was in the United Kingdom giving a traditional speech that goes counter to the speech that the BBC gives, at the end of the, Christmas season. And he came out there and apologized for America. That we have tyranny here in America. And he wanted to apologize to the British people about American tyranny. And was quoted as saying, "We are not bright. We're Americans." Now, he has the right to say that. And people have the right not to watch ABC or use any of their sponsors. That's a right we have. You want to call that tyranny? I call it choice. I think, personally, that he was not speaking for ABC. But I think ABC needs to look at that and go, well, that reflects back on us. You're telling us that you feel Americans aren't bright. And that our viewership is not bright. And our sponsors are not bright. And the people that buy their products are not bright. Right, Jimmy? ABC should fire Kimmel. This should be it. We've gone as far as we can go with you. And I thought by this time he'd be gone. So I know Jimmy has taken a lot of time off air and hasn't been there to be controversial, but this is enough. And he can say it. Doesn't mean I have to give him, if I was ABC, an outlet to do it. You want to go on your wife's podcast and do it? More power to you. You want to do what I do here? More power to you. I don't see how this is tyranny. That some guy could set up a couple of $1,000s worth of equipment and reach people. Show me how that's a bad thing. Show me how that's tyranny. These are the Democrats that you're hearing about. You're not hearing about good Democrats. You're not hearing. And there are good Democrats out there. But we're going to paint you all with a very wide brush. Now, like I said, traditional blue states are going to stay relatively blue, and red states, blue states are going to be in the mix. But as far as the federal go, you guys are going to lose seats. You guys are going to lose seats. And there's just no way that's going to change. The real dynamics is looking at the presidential race and looking at the numbers. And you go, well, Harris took New York. Not by a large number. Hochul won in New York. Not by a large number and by a relative unknown. She's not going to have that this time. I think Hochul's out. Hochul is out. And New York will turn red, at least as far as the governor and the assembly and things like that. And a lot of this nonsense that's been going on, that's going to change. The gentleman who's running is from Nassau County, and he has a very good track record there. And while Nassau County and Suffolk and Long Island basically is red, they're going to get other cities to jump on board and say, we're going to offer you the same approach we have and to get your numbers under control. Part of all these blue cities and states' financial troubles, and there is so much fraud in how they're reporting their numbers. That's what really needs to be looked at. Not that you're losing money. That can happen for a lot of reasons. But again, why are those reasons? Where are they going? Well, they're going for housing. We have a 30-40% increase in the need for housing. Well, why? What changed from 5 years ago to today? Oh, the influx of illegals, because you allow illegals. School, more kids in school. Why? Because illegals brought their children. School lunch programs. EBT, state-funded EBT, which then goes through the back door, federal government. Medical. Hospitals. But let's come down to the Common Core number here. Oh, guess what it is? It's illegals. You know what? Maybe Kimmel's right. Maybe we're not that bright. Little on the nose, Jimmy. But see, that statement's really not true. Because we've been screaming about illegals for years, and you kept telling us, Democrats, our borders are not an issue. There's no problem at our border. No, because they're all in our cities now. You lied, Jimmy Kimmel. You lied, Democrats. Are Republicans perfect? Absolutely not. Are what they're saying about the illegals and our costs and everything else that's going on? And you got people, well, put it on industry. Make corporations pay more taxes. Make millions and billionaires pay their fair share. Whoa, stop. How about we get rid of the illegals? And we make industry pay their fair share, and we make millionaires and billionaires pay their fair share. How about we do that? I'm good with that. But don't tell me that they have to pay their fair share for illegal activities. Get rid of the illegals. You can tax companies and people. You can do that. But not to pay for illegals. So you lie. CNN, Dana Bash, forced to admit Trump's border policy is a story of accomplishment. Yeah. Yeah. It is a story of accomplishment. Now we get back to ICE and the illegals. CNN admits, well, at least Dana Bush acknowledges, forced to admit, not acknowledges, he was forced to admit that the Trump's border policy is correct and working. And I've said this before. You own a house. You have an apartment. You have a trailer. You have a car. You have some place you call home. And all of a sudden you find someone in there that's not supposed to be there. They're not supposed to be in there. I didn't invite you in. I have no idea who you are. And so you call the police and you say, get that person out of there. And the police turn around and they go, no, they're there. We don't know how they got there. We don't know who they are. But since they're in your house, your car, your property, your apartment, your home, looks like you have to take care of them now until we can figure this all out. Think that's fair? Because that's what it really comes down to. That's what it comes down to. You have people here that shouldn't be here. Get them out. You have people here that have asked for asylum, have gone through the proper channels, and are in the process of doing it all legitimately. They came to the border, they filed papers, or they went to an embassy, and they came through the legitimate way. The people that showed up at the border and said, people are, it's not safe for me in my country, and you get temporary protection status. And it just goes on forever until they drift in, have kids, and now you go, well, they got kids. You can't let them go. The TPS was abused. And then when they started getting called on the carpet, the Democrats started getting called on the carpet about it. They go, well, we're going to come up with this new thing, parolee. You come, you tell us who you are, and then we'll set up a court date. Not enough judges, not enough courts, and you knew that. You flood the system. You choke it. It can't work. Oh, but we're trying. You game the system. Now we have ICE going out there doing a very dirty job of a dirty mess that you created, Democrats, and some Republicans. and now it needs to be taken care of. And people are up in arms. That's un-American. Coming into this country illegally, I would normally call that an invasion. In the numbers that we're discussing, that's an invasion. And the Democrats, again, this will all be pointed out in 2026. The ads are coming out. Can't wait to see how you and Schumer and Pelosi, who's not running again because she knows. A lot of these people are not going to run again. You got Waters who'll never leave, and Green, because there's so much corruption underneath them that she's sitting on top of the lid. The minute she's gone, that lid's open and everyone sees what they've done. And I've said that about anyone that stays in office for such a long, long time. You need to look at them. And you want to say, you could have term limits. No, you don't need term limits. You need transparency. Because all term limits does is, once they're gone, now I can open up their drawers and files and I can see what they've done. But if you have transparency and they're doing a good job, and they should stay on the job, that's fine. 22nd Amendment, it's only been around, what, 60 years? So, I don't think we should just have term limits just because you go, well, that, roots out corruption. No, it doesn't root out corruption. Transparency and making people accountable, that roots out corruption. All right. Support ICE. ICE is doing the best job they can do under a bad situation. Latinos apply for jobs at ICE and the border. I'd say all citizens can apply that are eligible and meet their requirements. Not just Latinos, not just blacks, not just whites, not just Jews, not all citizens. And Mayor Bass, tough crap. We have to take America back. And it's pulling the bandage off a hairy arm with a scab. It's going to hurt and it's going to bleed. But it needs to get done. 2024, we were able to grab the bandage. 2026, we peel it off. All right, that's it for me. I don't know how long I talked for. Let me see. All right. Oh my God, an hour. Man, I like hearing myself. Please give to a charity. If you don't want to give to a charity, I can understand why. Please look into giving to a food bank. They need money. They need food. They would prefer money because they could then pinpoint exactly where that need at that moment can be accomplished and addressed. But think about it. Support your veterans. Give to veteran causes, like through moose lodges, lion clubs, veterans of foreign wars. Those are all honorable places to give money to. And they can help, you know, veterans as wounded warriors, which I'm not crazy about because a lot of that money gets spent elsewhere. But there are some fantastic organizations out there for our veterans. Say a prayer. Prayer works no matter what a Democrat tells you. And people in the Northeast, snow comes with the territory, folks. Be careful. Be safe. If I don't see you till after the first of the year, depends on how I'm feeling and what's going on in the news. Is it newsworthy enough for me to have a show just to kick the Democrats around? I could do that all the time, but I like to have some facts when I do it, not just gut emotions. So if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, like, leave comments. I'm all for comments, except from Bob in New York. Just call me. I got to fiddle through everything. Just call me. Tell me. My buddy. He's getting snowed. All right, everyone. Take care. As I fade to